any of the teenagers, toddlers, or twins that we might be talking about were even alive.
There was just there was just the teenager then.
Yep. It was '08, I think, when we met.
Yeah, '08 we met. Just the teenager. She was probably like 5 or 6 years old.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy, and time has flown by. So,
sure.
Evan, no kids, former pro fighter, hard worker, one of the coolest people I've ever met, so down to earth, and you have your own podcast now, right?
I do. It's called The Fight for Tomorrow. I run that with my boy Joel. He's on Instagram at How Now Brown Joel.
How Now Brown? Oh yeah,
How
I saw
Now
that.
Brown Cal, but his name is Joel. He's an ultra runner. He's a super hard worker. He's a great guy. And I wanted to give him a shout out real quick because I just saw on Instagram that he's tuned in. He's watching live. So I wanted to give him a shout out for being on time for something for the first time in his entire life. Congratulations, bro. That means a lot to me.
And thanks for giving the shout out, brother. Appreciate it. So, all right, dude, you have come so far. I consider you a mentor. I know that you post on Instagram, you talk through your podcast, you say all these inspirational things. Want to get to all that eventually.
Sure.
All right, but I want to talk about the beginning because, like I said, when you and I met, both of us, I think, completely different people, completely different points in our lives.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this coming over. It's like, was I a different person? Yeah, I was definitely a different person, but I was also the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really weird how you can be like this completely different version of yourself, but you are still that same person.
Yeah.
Like I still look back to things that I've had happen in the past and ways that I maybe reacted poorly. And I still feel the same way about when certain situations arise as I would have then. The difference is the way that I react to these situations and the way that I handle, work through, or overcome certain situations. I think that's the biggest thing. I feel like when you say people have changed, it kind of has a little bit of a negative notation on it, like, oh, you've changed. Yeah. Not always. Of course, there is positive change as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm the same.
No,
but I'm definitely different. Like I'm more layered.
No, I completely agree with that. And so you are, so what I was thinking about was everything that you just said there, but I also was thinking about the transformation that both you and I have gone through. And I think, you and I have had our little gaps where we didn't talk just because life, right?
Yeah,
life took over, it took us in different directions, everything worked out. But we both have really found our center, if that makes sense. And we're going to get very, very, very Buddha-y, if you will, here tonight.
This is going to get super, I'm a lot more philosophical than I look. It's going to get super rabbit hole-y.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So back to the beginning. All right. Yep. And this is going to tie into parenting and mental health and all that fun stuff, right? So when you and I met, you were a little overweight. You weren't a fighter yet, right?
Correct.
And you were just in a completely different place emotionally. Why don't you tell everybody real quick about how you got into the fight game, if you will? Because I think that's all going to tie into everything.
Yeah. So I was, when I was a kid, like 5 or 6, I was like this super shy, very not introverted, but I was like very shy, very like innocent little kid.
Okay, yeah.
I was like a little mommy's boy.
Right.
And I used to get picked on in elementary school. I get picked on all the time. And so one day I'm getting picked on on the playground at recess, and they call me. Well, recess is over. I go back to class. I didn't tell on anyone or anything.
Right.
The principal comes to the class. He pulls me out of the class and says, hey, takes me in the hallway. Hey, I want to let you know that, we saw what happened there. And we just wanted to let you know that we're very proud of you for not reacting.
I'm sorry, I'm eye rolling.
With more violence. I mean, there's only a certain level of violence that a 6-year-old can do.
Right.
But violence.
Right.
So we just wanted to let you know that we were really proud of you for not choosing to fight back. So I go home and my they called my parents and whatever, and they said, my mom's like, great job. You're such a good kid, this, that, and the other thing. And she gets up to go do something, and my dad comes over, and he's like, listen, he's like, you shouldn't be fighting at school.
Right.
It's like, but don't ever let anybody just do that to you
Right.
for no reason. Defend yourself.
Yeah.
If you get in trouble at school for defending yourself, you will never get in trouble at home. Don't ever let that happen again.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I remember it like still like really, it was like a profound moment because like even as a little kid, like, you're a little kid, you love your dad, you look up to your dad. It's like, wow, this is like what a man is.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm looking at him and I just remember being like, okay. He's like, I don't care what happens as long as you don't let people pick on you like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next time it happened, I did my best to defend myself, and eventually, I stopped getting picked on. I went into my young middle school days where I started kind of overcompensating now.
Yeah.
So now it's like, what am I picking up on as, oh, this guy's trying to pick on me. So now I'm fighting for, well, he started it, but It's like, was he picking on me or was he saying something I didn't like or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know you.
It started to, the line started to blur a little bit as like, am I being bullied or am I are we just,
or am I annoyed by you?
I don't like you.
I don't like you right now.
I'm just going to say, oh, well, he was trying to pick on me, so now we're going to fight.
Right.
So then the more that happened, I'm a little guy now. I was very little then. And I get a nickname. Now, like, the cool kids like me and all this stuff. So by high school, I'm a bully. Like, I'm a straight up bully.
Yeah.
Which is crazy how that, like, metamorphosis kind of happened, where you go from being picked on to being able to defend yourself to now all of a sudden I'm a bully.
Right.
And I'm like 18, 19, and I beat this one kid up I was not even that old yet. I was still in high school, so I was like 17, I guess. I beat this one kid up pretty bad. And it was over nothing. He said something I didn't like at picture day, and so after school I beat him up. I got suspended for 10 days. They were like talking about expelling me, whatever. Totally out of line. It was not a good thing. I'm not proud of it. It was definitely not. He did not do anything worthy of that type of a reaction. But it went from like, now all of a sudden, now I'm overcompensating. Now I'm like all the way on this side of the scale. And it's like, what happened? Why couldn't you just like stop when you got to the point of like, okay, I'm not a doormat. Now I'm getting to the point where now I am. It's like Harvey Dent said in Batman, right? Like,
yeah. You either die.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
How did I fuck that up? Right, the Batman band.
The one comic reference that I have, I was like, oh, I had to bring at least one comic reference. But so anyway, we're going through all that, and after that, I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking like, man, like, this isn't who I am. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm puffing my chest out. I'm getting in fights at school. I broke my hand on a locker trying to fight with some guy before the prom, and all this stuff's going on. I'm like, man, like this is not who I am as a person. What am I doing?
Or you want to be, right?
So without realizing it, I was realizing like, yo, dude, it's testosterone, it's ego. Like, you're trying to, like, the hierarchy of high school, right? You're a little guy and you're overcompensating now, and you're becoming a bad person because of this.
Right.
This need to fit in and this need to show that you're not a victim. Well, now you're becoming someone who is creating victims for no reason.
Right.
So had that moment, whatever, went another 6 or 7 years, had my share of fights and terrible mistakes and all this different stuff, and was sitting in my apartment. I was a kitchen manager at the time for the restaurant I started at. I was 23 or 24 23 at this time, just about to turn 24.
I was 19.
And I was watching a UFC event with my girlfriend at the time, and she had this crush on Roger Huerta, right? So every time he would fight, like, oh, and I'm like, forget that guy. Like, I could take him. She's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, no, I obviously right now I couldn't. I'm 15 pounds overweight. I'm drinking 5 days a week, and like, I'm obviously now I couldn't. But like, if I did that, if I trained, I could take him.
Right.
And she's like, she basically was like, dude, well, there's no way. Like, what are you doing? There's no way. So she basically told me, like, there's no way you could do that. I don't even, like, you're being silly. So the next day I signed up at the gym to show her that, like, I could do it.
FYI, it's called the gym, as Evan and I talk.
Yeah.
That'll be the reference.
So the ego strikes again, right? Because I didn't sign up because I wanted to do martial arts of any kind.
Right.
I signed up because, like, I'll show you.
Right.
Would you say I'm not tough enough? I'll show you. And so that was actually how I got into it.
You just gave me such a flashback. Keep going, though.
Yeah.
You just gave me such a flashback.
And so that was how I got into it. And the next day I was training. And it kind of went from there. I started fighting almost immediately.
Yeah.
My first day at the gym, I still remember the dates, which is weird. June 4th, 2008 was my first day at the gym. July 28th or July 8th of the same year was my first fight. So it was 5 weeks, something like that. I didn't know. I had no idea what I was doing.
Do you remember it though? Because I just had a flashback.
It's on YouTube.
Well, no. I was gonna say, do you remember how it went? Because you said it, and it was like I was back in the moment.
Yeah.
I remember you came in, and you and I started rolling. And for those of you that know Evan, he didn't have the gas tank that he does now. So I remember he stopped midway, and he was like, I haven't done anything like this. And not that he wasn't willing, but the gas tank wasn't there. And I remember we were training, and this guy that Evan and I used to know was on the mats, and he's like, oh, they said they need to fight. And Evan had been training for like 2 months, and he was like, I'll do it. And this guy looks at me, and I was like, and you're like, no, I'm fucking serious. I will fucking do it.
I remember saying, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I remember like going into the fight, and everything went wrong, just like it always does for me. Part one of my career, anyway. We're going to rewrite that story. But supposed to fight, went to the weigh-ins, and they were like, oh, the guy you're supposed to fight actually is a pro, so the commission's not letting him fight. So I'm like, okay, now I don't have a fight. So we go to Primo Hoagie's. I'm like, whatever, those other guys fighting, no problem.
Yeah. Go
to Primo Hoagie's, eat a big hoagie, some cheese fries, whatever. Come back to the arena, they're like, we got a guy for you to fight. I'm like, dude, I just ate so much food. They're like, well, we'll make you last on the card. We'll make you the main event. I'm like, okay. So
I remember all of this.
Signed up. This is a Brazilian dude named Carlos Fonseca.
And he just started dancing.
So I'm like, whatever, man, fine. They're like, yeah, he's 0-0 amateur. Well, he was from Brazil. He was already a brown belt, I think.
Yeah, they snuck that shit in the back
door.
I
mean, he was definitely a sandbagger.
Yeah, totally. They snuck that shit in the back door.
So I come out, and I don't know anything, and I just walk right into a jab immediately, and I'm like, whoa, okay. So the next thing you know was basically him just dancing around, jabbing me, and me like just literally running around in a circle, just trying to hit him. I ended up getting hit. I fell down. He hit me in the back of the head on the ground. Amateur rules, then you're not allowed to strike on the ground at all. So it was supposed to be, I believe that event was supposed to be like, if you get knocked down, there's a 8 count.
Yeah.
Because that's how they used to do it.
That's how they don't anymore, yeah.
So they disqualified him. And I still remember being like, no, I didn't win. And what's his name was like, dude, just be quiet. Just let him raise your hand. We're going to get out of here. You did a good job. Like, I didn't do a good job. I didn't win that fight.
I think you tried to walk away.
I did.
Yeah, you tried to walk away,
dude,
right?
Get back over there.
Yeah, I remember now, yeah.
So I didn't know how to act. I didn't know anything. But yeah, from then on, I was like kind of hooked because I was obviously learned not only that night, but in the weeks leading up to that I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did. First time I met Jeff Cobb, I was like, you drive home in silence. It's just like, sip the Gatorade, and just try. He made me rethink my entire life. That guy, but
Jeff Cobb, right?
yeah,
He's good like that.
yeah,
He's real good
for
like
him.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, and then so from then on, I was just like fighting all the time. I never really learned anything. I just fought all the time. I never really learned anything. Hit pads, pull sleds, and spar. And every 3 to 6 weeks, I was in there again. And sometimes I won, sometimes I didn't.
Yeah. No.
That's just kind of how it went.
So that's where I'm going to pause you real quick.
Yep.
So I'm going to try. It might get a little dicey, everyone, because I have so many questions, and again, I wanted to zone in on the transformation of yourself, and I hope people can pick up from this because I'm sure you have very good insight about it. So you and I sparred a couple weeks ago at NPR. All right,
That was actually months ago.
was it months ago? You are not the same person, and you know I know a lot of people have sparred with you since then, and just the look in your eyes, your body language, everything is different. You're focused, you're there. And I was thinking back to the gym, if you will, and you know as well as I do, there was a couple of times where you lost yourself, you lost control in between rounds. You would just walk around, just waiting for the bell to go off so you could get back in there.
Throwing my mouthpiece.
Throwing your mouthpiece, getting angry. Which I know a lot has happened, but that's why we have this time on the podcast. How did you gain so much control of yourself? I mean, because you are completely evolved as a person.
Yeah. Well, so when you were doing the intro, right, you said former professional MMA fighter. And I guess at this point right now, that would be an accurate statement. But as I don't know if they can see it on my face on the camera or not, but I got quite a few little scuffs going on here. I'm planning on doing that again. I think what changed the most was the motivation. Like, what's the point?
Okay.
So when I started training, my ego was involved.
Okay.
And the place that we were training at was not an environment that was suited for learning. It was like, if you don't know anything off your back, then you can never be on your back. But how do you learn how to fight off your back if you're not going to do that in training? You know, like the training room should be like, all right, I'm going to work this today. Right. We're going to see how this goes. I'm going to try this today. You have to remove the ego. And the first, God, I don't know, 4 years, it was, if it wasn't my ego, it was this other person who I trusted to have my best interest in mind's ego,
right,
pushing me to do certain things, and I was just listening, even against sometimes, you know, you get these like feelings like, man,
I don't know if
this
that's
doesn't
right.
seem right.
I don't know if this energy's right.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's the energy.
Yeah, the energy. It sounds wrong, feels wrong. Yeah.
So after I left that place, and I met up with Jeff at a different place where we would train, and Pat Sabatini, and me and him and Jeff were just training all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, I'm in a place now where these people aren't going to talk smack about me to the whole gym if I don't know something and I ask them. So I started asking them. And then I'm like, wait a minute, let me start training off my back. Let me try it. I'm never going to get better if I don't ever do it. And It's like, well, don't get on your back. Okay, cool. But what happens when you get taken down? You don't know what to do. You're fighting Aljamain Sterling on 4 days notice, and you don't even know how to do an arm bar. You don't know how to do anything off the ground or off your back. So when I went after I left that place and I started training just because I was like, you know what, I want to get better. I started enjoying the process of actually getting better. And the ego starts to melt away after a while when you realize that it's like every time you get tapped, that's hard on your ego, especially like certain days where you get tapped like 25 times. Yeah. It's like, but every time you get mad, you go get tapped faster because you're making more mistakes because you're not thinking clearly.
Yeah.
But I just started thinking of it as like, all right, every time I get tapped, it's like, you know, you have that change jar in your bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Throw a couple pennies in there, it's nothing.
Right.
2 years later, when you got a 5-gallon jug filled with pennies and quarters and nickels and dimes, you got $2,000 in there now.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, all right, you know what? Every time I get tapped, I'm just paying my dues. I'm just throwing a nickel in a jar, throwing a nickel
That's a
in a
good way
jar,
to look
throwing a
at
nickel
it.
in a jar.
Yeah, that's a really
And
good way.
eventually those small payments, they build up to become something significant that you can do something with. So it was just a mindset shift. It just went from being, oh, I'm Evan, I'm tough, to being like, I would like to get better at this. I actually am enjoying the process of learning, and I would like to get better at this. So,
But do you think that anything that like you preach on the podcast or Instagram or to people in conversation, because you are now a veteran of life and the sport and everything like that, do you think that played a part in calming down your? Because I can tell you to say like me, I'm able to focus more because I've been able to get a grip on my emotions. You know what I mean? I've been able to say like it's okay to do this. I have to focus on the moment. And I think you were the one, I read it on your Instagram or something, that for the couple months ago, years ago at this point, you said like for the first time, I think maybe in your life, you said like, I'm able to be in the moment. You're not already in the fight. You haven't already lost the fight. You're not in the past. Like you're there in the moment getting better.
yeah, honestly, the biggest thing to me that has really changed, I don't want to say my entire mindset, because I still love grinding it out. I still love getting after it. I'm always gonna love that, because
Yeah.
that's part of it. But that's also part of where I'm about to go. But
Yeah.
stoicism is something that I recommend to everybody in the world, because stoicism is about always making sure that you are focused on what you can do at any given moment of time. What are you able to do to control your own actions to better your circumstances?
Right.
For example, if a meteor is going to hit the earth, some people will be robbing, looting, stealing, doing all kinds of terrible stuff. And some people will be in the moment, present, enjoying their time with their family, because what you can control is what you do until the meteor hits. It doesn't matter how angry, scared, or dejected, depressed, unsure, none of that matters, because it's either going to hit the planet or it's going to miss us.
Or it's gonna be, yeah.
But there's nothing that I can do either way to figure that out. So it's like death, man. We're all going to die. And I think about dying all the time. And that's also
weird.
It's also because of
Yeah.
stoicism.
Yeah.
There's a saying in stoicism, it's memento mori. It means remember you will die. And that's been a very powerful thing for me, because it's like you are going to die. And every day that passes, you have one less day. However long your timeline is, each time you wake up in the morning, you got one less than you had before. It's not a renewable resource.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't control that. No matter what I do, I'm going to die.
Right.
And so is everyone that I know and have ever known. We're all going to die. And it sounds like, when you hear it just said like that, it's like, I didn't come here for this. This is depressing.
But you ever notice, like, you can learn, I'm sure you know this, you can learn so much from so many people. And I think that everyone needs to, and that's very stupid of me. You can learn so much from, the age doesn't matter, experience, career, job, none of that matters. And you just said that, and my daughter and I, my oldest, were talking about something or somebody, I forget what it was, but she was like, this dude takes it so seriously, like he's going to make it out of life alive. And I was like, you're 15 again?
Yeah, she's way ahead.
Yeah.
She's way ahead.
Yeah, like it's
but
just never.
It's a really heavy thing to think about.
Yeah.
And you don't like it. It's not human nature to think about heavy things. It's not like we want to be comfortable. There's a reason that air conditioning exists. There's a reason that we have literally a tool for everything.
Yeah.
There's a tool for it. Whatever it is, there's a tool. And the reason for that, and the reason that humans have evolved to become as advanced in certain areas, they're advanced. In certain areas, not so much.
We're getting there.
But the reason that all these technologies and things exist is because of people's search for convenience and comfort. But the problem is that the better that we become at giving ourselves comfort, the worse we are at dealing with the inevitable discomfort of things that are going to happen to us, no matter what you do. The more that you become, oh, cool, you have a thing that can pick up these bags and move them for you. But what happens when that breaks and you're completely out of shape and you can't lift them yourself?
I completely agree.
It's like, I run a restaurant. You've worked in restaurants for many years. When the technology goes down and you got to do handwritten checks, every person in the restaurant's like, I don't know what do I do? It's like, just write down what you need and hand it to the cooks. And then the cooks are like, but what do I do? There's no screen. It's like, guys, everybody stop, read the paper, communicate to the person behind. But that happened. Like, I have that level of calm in that because I've been through the times where it's all gone down and it's like, it's not going to be that bad.
I said that to Monica. We were talking about, it was no disrespect to teachers at all, but we were talking about, the craziness that had to happen when they were going to school and going back. And that's a different podcast for Evan and I about the COVID and protocols and all that. And everybody was in a frenzy. And again, no disrespect to our teachers. I know it was a lot of everybody. I said to Monica, not in a criticizing way, but I said, it's different for people in hospitality, in I'm sure other professions as well. But like you said, in my profession, your profession, 800 rooms, the power goes out. It's not like, all right, well, we got to just wait until it gets back on. It's like, no, like you have to solve it now. Right. And I always say that I don't feel like I would be as good as a husband and father if I hadn't worked in hospitality, because you learn to just be in a million places at once.
I feel like where we're at as a society right now, everything's so advanced, and so I could just pick this up and I could figure out what anything means in any language.
Yeah.
I could read whatever history lesson. I have all the knowledge here.
Right there.
I can also order literally anything I want. I can order whatever kind of food I want, and it could just get dropped off right here. No big deal. And I think people they confuse the difference between having an easy life and having a good life. A good life is not an easy life. A good life, obviously my opinion, but a good life is a life where you cultivate these things and you work on things and you work through things and you become a more well-rounded individual through all these hardships. Because if all you ever do is hide from hardship, you're never going to be able to get past what it is that is hard for you. If you have a fear of public speaking, if you never go out and attack that, you're never going to overcome that. And the longer it goes, the bigger it gets. And now it's like, oh, this is insurmountable. There's no way I can do this.
Yeah.
But that could just be giving a presentation about something that you spent 20 years of your life working on to 5 people. And it's like this overwhelming thing that you can't deal with, but it's because you're not polishing that off. We all have things that scare us, make us nervous, anxious, whatever, angry, sad.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to work. We have to be able to work through those. And I think that people spend so much time trying to fix their feelings instead of just feeling them, that they never even get to know why they are feeling their feelings.
Yeah. And I think you agree, because I posted something a couple years, Evan and I have known a long time, I said that right, a couple years ago, and it was about, I was a different person in the sense that if you didn't work hard, you were nothing. That's how I was. And it was something about how Ivy League students are quitting their $87,000 jobs to enjoy life. And I posted something and I was like, pussies or something. And you commented pretty much saying, like, talking about how.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
About how enjoying life is more important. And if that's what you so choose.
It was, right.
Yeah. And now later, or here we are in life, if there's somebody who wants to do something, I would do my best if they ask me to help them get there. And I wish that I could push some people over the edge to get better. And then there's people who are, they work their job that might be simple, no disrespect to their trade, and they love it. And I'm learning to say, like, if that's what they like and that's where they want to be and they're happy, go for it. I don't give a shit.
It's a different kind of hardship, right?
Yeah.
It's a different kind of hardship. So like maybe you're making great money, but you don't have any fulfillment in your life.
Yeah.
The money, like, goes back to like, you're going to die. And you can't, none of that money's coming with you. So to me, it's like, I feel like people spend so much time trying to make themselves happy that they don't spend time making themselves feel fulfilled. And then that's why when you're older, you're so upset about what you did, because
I never want to be that way.
You were chasing this comfortable salary and whatever, but did it mean anything to you?
Yeah.
And like I've had my career was win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, like times 20, that's how it went. I haven't fought in 7 years.
It's been that long?
Yeah,
Holy
2014.
Shit. Jesus.
The last fight, I didn't even want to be there.
Really?
I was doing it because I was like, so, when I got my skull fractured, I came back after that fight and I got a big win against a guy who was like really highly ranked locally, and I was feeling good. So I'm like, give me another fight. But I didn't want it. So
you're just let's keep going. Momentum.
But that's how I grew. It's like that was like my experience with MMA. It's like fight and then fight again. Fight, get hammered, get back in camp. Fight, get hammered, get back in camp. And it's like there was no purpose to it. It's just like you're just fighting just to fight. So I'm getting ready to fight this guy, and I'm working 60 hours in 4 days leading up to the fight while I'm cutting weight, and I'm like, I just want this to be over with. This is stupid. What am I doing? And so you go out and you get kicked in the head, and you go, okay, well, I'm not ever doing this again if I am not all in, because a lot of my career has been that way. Off a loss, I'm super motivated. I'm not going to lose again.
Right.
Off a win, it's like, hey, celebrate, cool. Yeah, I'll do it again. But like, I need that fire to, like, I don't know. See, like, it's weird. Like, there's this strange dichotomy, because when I did the President's Cup in Sambo in 2016, that was literally, Eric called me. I was on the turnpike. He's like, yo, you want to go to Scotland and do combat Sambo for Team USA? And I'm like, I never did combat Sambo. He's like, it's a free trip. I'm like, wait, free trip to Scotland? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what is it? He's like, it's like MMA, but the scoring's different. I'm like,
and you got to wear a gi.
I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. So like the next 2 weeks, I just was like, I'm gonna learn the rules and we'll see what happens. And I did really well.
I remember that
because I was just having fun and there was no pressure there. And it's like, if I lose at a sport that I never did against a bunch of guys that have been doing a sport their whole life, whatever.
I just have to say something on that note, because I say this to people all the time. To what you just said about having fun and when you relax and you don't care. So I worked in this kitchen a long time ago, high class kitchen, fast paced. And there was this one girl who always fell behind. The chef was always giving her a hard time. I remember one time it was like Mother's Day, and he was like, get a broom and go sweep the walk. And I don't want to look at you. So finally she was like, I've had enough of this shit. So she got another job. She worked for 2 weeks. She was fucking amazing for those 2 weeks. You know what I mean? She's like, I'm going to do my time. I'm going to do it the right way. But when you're relaxed and you don't care, like, she was ahead of the game. Like, she was
driving with the brakes on, because she was afraid of the negative energy that she was going to get if anything went wrong. And if you're so afraid, like when I fought Ryan Vaccaro the first time, that's why I lost. Because I knew all he was a wrestler. Mm-hmm. And at that time, my wrestling was not good. He's one of the reasons that my wrestling is good.
Yeah.
But so I just went out there and I was like, don't get taken down. And now you're just there, not throwing any punches so you can defend the takedown. But you're going to lose. You can't win a fight by doing nothing. So you end up freezing up because you want to not make mistakes so much.
I'm telling my wife it's cold down here.
That you are now you're not going for it anymore. You see this with jiu-jitsu and a lot. I mean, probably everything. It's like, if you can't get to that flow state because you're so like I gotta get it right. I gotta get it right. I gotta get it right.
And you're stuck.
And you are just overthinking everything. And that guy that's flowing is just gonna be like whoop whoop whoop, pat, pat, pat. And then the more that starts to happen, now you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I'm not prepared for this. And it's like this overwhelming sense of like failure and like everything I'm doing is for nothing. But that's why it's like so important to remember, like, no matter what, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like all of this, if it's like no matter what you do, you're going to die. So why are you doing something that makes you feel so overly like the end of the world is coming if I don't perform well here? Because then, newsflash, if that's the way you feel about what you're doing, you're never going to be at your best. You're not, because you're going to be so worried about if things go wrong that it's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
If you're so worried about losing a fight, you might win, but you might lose. If you don't even care it's like, okay, me and you are going to fight. You have this style, I have this style. Instead of me worrying about what I'm going to do to you, I spend the whole time watching your tape just to counter what you're going to do. Now you come into the fight and you just do something different. I'm completely like when Conor McGregor just fought Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. And they both were prepared for something else.
And Poirier, I think Poirier's going to smoke him again.
Oh, dude, I think that's also.
I think he's going to smoke him again.
On that note, because I want to ask you what you think the difference between hard work and determination, let's put them together, and passion is. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people think, if I work hard, I'm good at it. Everybody tells me I'm good at it, and, but if you lose that steam, then you're not passionate about it.
Yeah. So that's a multifaceted. That's a good question. There's a couple layers to that.
Yeah.
So obviously, I believe that hard work is a necessary ingredient.
Of course, yep.
So if you're making a cake, you need eggs.
Yep.
Maybe not anymore. I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of recipe where you can make a cake out of carpet fibers and fucking wood. And normally, if you need a cake, you need a certain amount of ingredients.
Yeah, traditionally, yes.
But if you just take all the ingredients of a cake and just dump them in a bowl and throw them in the oven, it's probably not going to be a very good cake.
Yeah.
You have to put the right amount of ingredients at the right time. You have to mix it properly. The temperature of the oven has to be the right way.
Yeah.
There are things that you got to do to like make the cake good.
Yeah.
So I think, and like I've done this to myself so many times, and that's what's so different about me now to when I had my MMA career one. I go to training now with intention. That's the difference. When you're passionate, you want to find ways to utilize the hard work. The hard work is part of it.
Because hard work is a straight line, right?
Yeah, like so.
You want that straight line.
I got a fight coming up, and it's like, don't get tired. So all I do is pull a sled until I puke 3 times a week. But then all of my training is complete trash because I'm just completely overtrained. My body's wrecked.
You're still working 60 hours.
It's like, okay, but what was your intention? Was your intention to be able to pull the sled up this hill more times than the guy you're fighting? Or was your intention to put on a better martial arts display and beat him in the competition, within the rules of the competition?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where, to me, it's like hard work is part of it, but you need the intention. If you're ever going to make progress, you need the intention. And the second part I would say is like when you're passionate about something, it overpowers your ego enough that you're willing to do what you need to do, which a lot of times in order to get better at something, you need to be willing to let everyone in the world know I suck at this. And I feel like so many people want to skip that step. They're like not okay with the fact that they're not good at things. So they say, it's not for me. Or they say,
or I got it.
That's stupid. Why would anybody
Yeah.
waste their time doing that?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's your ego trying to protect itself by talking you out of going into a situation where you're new at something.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna suck for a while. That's just the way it goes.
Yep.
And like Joel, my co-host on the podcast, he runs ultra marathons, right?
Right.
So during the COVID shutdown, I started running.
Yeah, I remember you told me you run like 80 miles a week now.
I don't run anymore because now the gyms are open. So
oh, okay.
I run once in a while. I enjoy being in the woods, but anyway, we started running, and I'm like, dude, like the first time I ran in 8 years, I went 10 miles, and I'm like, my legs are seizing up and everything. And he's like, dude, why? And my wife too. I got to give her credit for this, dude. Get on a training plan. I'm like, no, I have to just more. I have to do more. But you're ended up breaking yourself down because I didn't want to admit, like, dude, I haven't ran in 10 years. I am not in shape for running. So instead, I'm just like slogging up this hill. And I'm like, my legs are sore for days. And so eventually I started to realize, like, I'm not getting any faster. I'm not getting any better. And I'm not able to run further. And I actually feel worse. So then I just started, he's like, dude, listen, like, lighten up on this. You don't got to go so fast here. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure. And it's like, all right, do I want to run this trail race? Because if I really want to run it and be successful, I need to be willing to admit the fact that I have no idea how to do this. And then when you suddenly go, I don't know what I'm doing. Can somebody help me? And you listen to the people who give you feedback, you get better.
But
magically.
What's it like being Evan? And this is one of the reasons I love you.
That's a great question.
One of the reasons I love you, because you just said I ran 10 miles, and I believe it. So you are, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. I'd say to anybody who asked me, my wife, she never met you. I said it all the time. You're maybe the hardest working dude I've ever met, right? But that maybe, and you would maybe admit to this as well, is your downfall sometimes, because you are like, it's 10 miles. I can run it. It's like, but should I run it? And you've always had that drive. You always were in the gym, 4 hours of sleep, hitting mitts, working 80 hours a week, whatever. And that's the gift and the curse, would you say? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to read this post that we,
let's do it.
Hold on, let me pull it up. Hold on. So this is the post that I believe you read, that you actually hit me up and was like, "Yo, I want to have you on here because of this post."
Yeah.
So this was like, I don't remember what time it was. It was late, and I just had this like epiphany. And so I'm just going to read the post, and then we'll talk about it. So my entire life, I've been a hard worker. I've always worked hard. And in that, I believed if I just showed up and worked hard, good things will happen. I accomplished more than I ever envisioned for myself just by this simple mantra. However, I have not accomplished the best of what I am currently or have ever been capable of. I've always believed in hard work, and it got me to a very comfortable place. The longer I was in this place, the less fulfilled I grew, until the point I felt straight up angry. But I couldn't tell anyone what was wrong, because on its face, there was nothing wrong. Then I suddenly realized I've spent the last 20 years of my life believing in hard work, but I have never actually believed in myself. The work is like a vehicle, but you are the driver. I was asleep at the wheel, hoping I'd get to this beautiful sunset on the coast. Luckily, I woke up before I veered off the cliff of complacency. You must be present to steer your vehicle, and your destination must be intentional. I've never felt a realization as powerful as this. I believe I was feeling angry because somewhere inside of me, part of me knew I was selling myself short, so I will not waste this opportunity. Working hard and hoping for the best is okay, and it's certainly better than not working hard at all. But working hard and accepting nothing less than what your dreams and vision are is what makes the difference. I'm ready to step up, to receive, to evolve, and to grow. I'm so grateful to all the amazing people in my life to help me realize this without even knowing you were part of solving a riddle that I did not even know I was trying to answer. Hard work is only half. So that's kind of like what you were alluding to with that question. And I think that is, like I said there, one of the most powerful realizations I've ever made in my life.
I think it's amazing.
Work hard, you'll get there. Get where?
Right.
Get where?
Right, yeah.
And this is a Stoic quote. It says, "No wind is favorable if you don't know what port you're sailing to."
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know which way you want the wind to blow?
Right. Right.
You don't. And that is the thing that I have changed in the last 6 months or so about my training. I'm I'm paying people to take me to areas of my game that I always tried to find ways to just not end up there. And all of a sudden now I'm like, wait, I'm getting good at this. And now the people that I'm sparring with that are like, wait, you're not supposed to be good at this. And then I can always rely on what I had before. I always had good wrestling, always had good grappling, always super tough. Gas tank was good.
I'm about to say,
No
always
problem.
had heart. That was it. Yep.
But what about the other half? What about when that strategy doesn't work? So now it's like, if I can implement that other half long enough to make you forget about this, all of a sudden now this is 5 times more effective because you're waiting for this and I'm giving you this until you're not waiting for that anymore. Then I give it to you. And I think life is like that. It's like, oh, I'm a dishwasher. Well, I don't want to be a dishwasher anymore, so I'm going to work really hard. Okay, now I'm a cook. Well, I don't want to do this forever, so I'm going to work really hard. Well, now I'm an expo. Well, I want to be able to mix it up. So, now I also know prep. Hey, you want to be a trainer? Okay, cool. All of a sudden, I'm the GM of this restaurant,
Yep.
and I'm sitting there and I'm going, we were talking about this right when I first got here. Okay, here I am. But what's next? I don't want to do what is the next step for me is not regional operations director. That's just not who I am as a person.
Right. Yeah.
It's not something that's going to fulfill me. Cool. An extra 15 grand a year. Cool. But for what?
Taxed.
Right.
Yeah,
for what?
Yeah,
what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm like, you know what, man? I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm going to start working on things that mean a lot to me. And that's like where the Fight for Tomorrow comes in and getting back in the cage. Now I have a camp of people over at EFC and Enzo Gracie Philly. And I haven't been at NPR, but they're super great people there as well.
Yeah, man.
I'm surrounded by good people who, want to help me do well. And I'm in a room now where I'm sparring 8 rounds and they're all pros and they're all giving you good looks and I'm getting good looks from them. I'm taking personal lessons on footwork and all these other things.
My daughter could use footwork.
Yeah. And I'm like enjoying the process of learning again. And I'm realizing that I'm 36. So I'm getting a little older for the fighting thing. I got 3-4 years left. But man, I'm so excited to get in there and have done it right. And now I've done it right. And now I'm excited to see it because I'm like, wow, if I was able to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, win the President's Cup in Combat Sambo, become a professional MMA fighter, go from being a GM of a restaurant go from being the dishwasher to the GM of a restaurant with literally no idea of what I was trying to accomplish. It's like, damn, what if I focus on accomplishing? Okay, this is goal number 1. After I accomplish this, I'm going to utilize this to do this, or this. And it was a really powerful moment for me when I realized that. And I just had to share it because I was like, dude,
I'm glad you did share it.
If this hits anybody 10% as hard as it hits me, then it's definitely worth sharing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and do you feel like, because I feel this way. You and I just had this conversation upstairs, and don't kill me. I love my job. I love everybody I work with. I love the industry. But when you're doing what you want to do, like podcasts like we're doing, or you finally figured out how you want to train and how to make it fun and effective, and you found the right team and the right camp, the job, the hours, the stress, it doesn't hit you as much when you're doing what you want to do. You know what I mean? 100%. It's a game changer.
The other thing I think that I've been talking a lot about this in my conversations around the world is priorities. And I'm a huge believer that people do not understand the idea of priorities. Oh, get your priorities straight. It's like, that in itself is just completely, you can't have priorities. You can't have more than one thing that is important before everything else. A priority is the number one thing that is the most important to have happen. So a lot of times I've put myself in like, okay, I'm going to run this restaurant. I'm going to take this fight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's like, now you're like, I can't keep up. You're overworked. You're letting things slip. You're performing because you think that you have 10 priorities. You can't. You have to come to terms with yourself of like, what is my priority? Is my priority to get $1 million in the bank and travel? Is my priority to go from being a GM to a regional? Is my priority to whatever? Name any goal, take a fight, X, Y, or Z. And once you find out what is your real priority, easiest way to do that, by the way, is just to look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Your actions define your priorities.
Yeah.
If you're drinking all the time, then drinking is your priority. If you're not working on your long-term goals, or you're not working on fixing up your house or developing your career or whatever, then whatever you're doing at that time is more important. If you come home from work and instead of working on your fitness, you're drinking is your priority. Whether you want to admit it or not, your actions tell you what your priorities are. So it's like, okay, so are my actions in line with what I'm telling myself my priority is? And if it's not, you need to either realize that your priorities are not what they thought they are, or you need to change your actions to align them with your priorities,
Yeah.
And I think that's like, people need to realize that like what your priority is okay if that's what you want your priority to be. If you're okay with it, it doesn't matter what anyone else says about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people worry about like if their priority is going to seem cool to someone else, or it doesn't matter. Like if your priority is to become the best Call of Duty player that's ever lived,
and you can make money off that now,
makes you feel fulfilled, and you're enjoying your life, and you look forward to what you're doing every day, and you're not hurting anyone else then by all means, that should be your priority.
Yeah, no, and you and I said that. It's like if you work part-time and you live in your mom's basement, we're just saying, I'm sorry, don't kill us, but you like Call of Duty, you meet up with your friends after, you have a good time, you're happy, you get up and you do it again, you go through the motions, and you're happy, fine, right? Don't anybody tell you, oh, you need to do more. Well, I don't know what I'm happy doing this. Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think my biggest thing, like, I don't try to tell anyone what they should
do. Never.
But the thing that bothers me is people that complain about their situation, but won't change anything about what they do, and they want their situation to suddenly be better.
Oh, I got to ask you something because I was thinking about it. Don't kill me, everybody. Do you ever feel like there's some people who enjoy being upset?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
like you said about focus, and like it's like maybe your priority should be seeing a doctor, getting some help, right? But if you're not doing that, do you like being upset?
I feel like obviously there are tons of things that people do that are like they're coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And you would have to know that person on an extremely personal level to be able to unwind, like, what is this mechanism? Like, it's either a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism. There's some sort of a reason for that.
Of course.
A human being's natural detriment is not to be angry all the time.
Right.
Usually, in my experience, it's an inward thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're angry, or you want to talk about this guy's a bum, he's washed up, this, that, and the other thing, because it's like the Uncle Rico thing from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you were a really good football player in high school, but you can't let go of that. And now you just want to go around and you want to trash everybody else, but you're not. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with the fact that you're not happy with yourself. Like I took this fight up a weight class against this guy, Arthur Rofi. He was the CFFC champ. I don't know whatever happened to him. He just kind of stopped fighting. He made Bellator, and then he just like stopped fighting.
And you might be happy.
He might. Yeah. I mean, he was a beast, but I prepared all like technically for him. And then, but I like skipped out on my cardio and I just was completely gassed out in the second round. I ended up losing.
Was this an AC?
Yeah, dude,
I
it was a
remember you were
brutal
upset.
fight.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
brutal
yeah,
fight.
Yeah.
Oh, the first round was an amazing round.
Yeah.
I did, but I didn't have, I did half. I did half.
You had it
I
on the
was so
ground.
busy
You're
working
moving
so
along.
hard.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I remember they played that at Red Robin like a couple weeks after it was on TV. And I remember the dishwasher coming up to me. He's 40 years old or whatever. Comes up to me, not a happy person. Comes up to me and
Oh
goes,
man.
just want to let you know I was really disappointed in that. And you know what? At first, of course, I was like really angry. I wanted to be like, well, you're just this or you're just, but then it's like, no, you know what? That is a he doesn't even know why he's doing that. But why he's doing that is because he's seeing me on TV while he's washing dishes.
Right.
It's like Gary Vaynerchuk says, and there's nothing wrong with washing dishes. I still do it all the time.
Yeah,
it's a hard job, and you're earning your money,
especially at your place.
I respect the crap out of dishwashers,
yeah.
But it's like Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about it all the time, and he's like, I don't get mad at trolls. I don't get mad at haters. I feel bad for them.
He posts the cartoons where he's
because if your life is so unfulfilled and you're so unhappy that the only thing that you can do to try to bring some merit to your life as a person is trashing the accomplishments of others, it's actually sad.
Yeah.
It's actually sad. And it's actually like, man, can we help you not be such an unhappy person? Because anyone who's a troll is not a happy person.
No, it's my counselor always says hurt people. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like they're all jacked up. And I just want to give like a shout out to Gary Vee. I don't think you're watching, but he is so motivational and positive in that way. And he's willing to go back to the beginning. Like he doesn't forget where he came from, if that makes sense. And
which is super important.
Super important. And the one post that he wrote, and I tell Monica this all the time, that made me do this podcast or these podcasts, and they still may suck. But he said, if you write a book, the first draft's going to suck. If you do a podcast, the first episode's going to suck. If you are a videographer, your first production's going to suck. Everything's going to suck at the beginning.
I remember our first episode that we ever did. Joel's going to be mad. I don't care. Dude, it was a Saturday or something. We were both off. Dude, he was so nervous that I put vodka in his coffee. I put alcohol in his coffee. I was like, dude, do you want some alcohol? He's like, I think I do. I'm like, I'm going to get you some alcohol, bro, because you need to like, but like, you know what? It's like, I don't even know if anybody even listens to the first episode anymore. Like, so every now and then I go on YouTube to see that first fight I had, and I'm just like, oh my God, dude, I was so bad. But I'm not bad anymore. No, you're never gonna be good immediately. You're never going to you can't have experience without going through experiences. And people want to have all this experience without going through the experience. There's been so many managers that I've known over the years that come out of college, they have their hospitality degree, but they never managed. And then the first weekend, you can see the moment when it hits them that they actually have no idea. They're like, but this wasn't in the book.
This wasn't in this chapter.
The fryer's on fire. What am I supposed to do? You know, it's like, okay, hold on, calm down. I got this. And then they're like, I didn't know what to do. It's like, I know you didn't know what to do because you've never been through that. And that's fine. You don't know what to do until you know what to do, which is why I always, always, always recommend people getting into self-defense of some kind, hopefully a good kind, because there's a lot of shysters out there.
There's a
Brazilian
lot
Jiu-Jitsu, if you can look up a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. It's really important to, like, as far as I'm concerned, because if you've never been in a fight, you are not going to react in a way that is going to be helpful in protecting or saving your own life. Flip out, get yourself tired, panic, or maybe shut down or whatever.
I say that shit all the time. Yeah.
But that goes back to stoicism again, where it's like you have to put yourself in these positions so that you know that you are able to deal with it when it comes to it. Like, I don't like if I'm getting choked, I don't tap unless like I'm about to go out.
You're
the
about to,
star is happening into the side,
and you're like, all right, it's not
you
that
got.
big.
There's no chance I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
But like, dude, I've fought chokes for so long that I've had like blood vessels popped in my face and things like that.
Your ears
Oh,
too.
they're good.
I know. Yeah,
These are done. They're not. They don't get bigger anymore. Sometimes they bleed, but they don't feel anything.
But you still are that bulldog. You were like, I'm gonna pull my head through this choke.
Yes. And the reason for that is like I don't want to train myself to the point where like now I'm in a situation where for whatever reason somebody attacked me from behind and they're choking me, and I have trained myself to just I can just tap and I'm out of there. Because eventually, if you can't just, I'm not saying that everyone who does jujitsu should just never tap. That's not what I'm saying.
He's not saying wait for the crack.
I'm saying as you begin to get more experience with understanding like what's a dangerous thing, what's not, like how far can it go and still be safe.
Yeah.
Push the envelope a little bit. Don't let yourself out just because you can tap.
Yeah.
And that's not just self-defense. That's everything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Push. You gotta push the stretch a little bit, or you're gonna be completely at the same spot. If you never push the stretch, it's like lifting weights.
You gotta get that burr. You gotta.
If you bench, if you put 10 pounds on each side of the bench and you do 10 reps, and that's all you ever do, you're never gonna bench 300 pounds.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
It's like that with literally anything you do. It's like that with doing a podcast.
Yeah,
dude, there have been episodes that I've listened to, and I'm like the audio, like our 8th episode. Dude, the audio, it was just like, like you could just hear it in the background.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I'm just like, oh my God, that is horrible. How did I not notice that? Like, what? But to me, it was like, you know what? Like, this is going to be authentic. Like, I'm posting it, I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
And it's out there now.
Yeah.
And it's like, if anybody ever feels bad about what they're doing when they're just starting, dude, just go on YouTube and look up the Joe Rogan Experience episode 1.
I know. I always think about that shit. Oh my God.
I'm like, dude, this is
where he's in his room, right?
He's in like this weird purple room.
Yeah,
on his computer. They're smoking out of a bong.
Yeah.
I mean, they still do that, but crazy how far he's come. And why is he so polished? Oh, I don't know. Probably 1,700 episodes might be why he's so polished.
I always think about that. And one thing I learned, like Joe Rogan, and thinking about podcasts and even just life. Like I was watching one of his episodes. I watch him all the time, but there was one episode where I was like, man, I wish I could be like Joe. But then I was like, when I'm 53 and I've done, like you said, 1,700 episodes, I'm sure maybe I won't be as good as Joe if I keep going and I want to be as good as Joe. But he has experienced life, so many things to have gotten him there.
That's the thing too, right? Like hard work is cool. And we did an episode on this. And this is like the intensity thing. That's always been me, right? But there's consistency versus intensity.
Yeah.
So intensity would be an example of like you came out and you spent $5,000 on podcast stuff and you just went balls in. Podcast, boom, 35 posts a day, whatever. And then in 20 episodes, done. It's just over there collecting dust. That's intensity.
Yeah.
Consistency is I'm just going to keep putting it out. I'm going to let it grow. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. I'm going to talk about things that are important to me because this is what I want to be doing. People don't get in things for the long game. People want like, what am I getting out of this now?
Dude, I have to tell you something before I forget.
Yeah.
I saw because you know how like when you type it on Facebook, you're not on Facebook anymore. No. If you say something though, it pops up.
Best move I ever made, by the way, getting off of Facebook.
But when you say something or you type something, you get ads. So I got an ad for something and I totally believe it. It has to be accurate. It said something like there's like 2 million podcasts. I'm making up a number here. But the percentages, and they were like, and 60% of them haven't produced an episode in 6 months. Because, you know, they were like, oh, I'm not Joe Rogan. Fuck it. I'm done.
Right.
It didn't catch on.
Yeah. And I think that a good way to look at something new that you're going into, and this is something that I couldn't have learned without experience, without doing many things wrong. I started later than a lot of people, but like you said, I'm 36. Joe Rogan's 53.
Yeah.
That's 17 years from now.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shit's going to happen.
I haven't even been training I've only been training for 12 years. That's 1.5 times the entire journey that I've had and the amount of things that I've learned in that amount of time in another 17 years. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like people get into something worrying about like where they're going to end up
or what people will fucking think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Am I going to be blowing it up? Am I going to be this new popular guy? Or how much money am I going to make off of this? Or whatever. I guarantee you that when Joe Rogan started doing a podcast, he did not think he was going to sell it to Spotify for $100 million.
No, he actually, did you watch the Dr. Phil episode?
No.
Dr. Phil asked him about it, and he said that he was always just a curious person. And he said it started out just me and my friends bullshitting in my basement. And then I was like, hey, I wonder if people will really talk to me. And that's when he started taking it all more seriously.
Yep.
And yeah, he still has Brendan Schaub on and they fuck around and drink and smoke. But then he has Dr. Phil and he had Bernie Sanders. Like he has like legitimate people on and has good conversations.
Yeah. And I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
It started organically.
Right.
It grew organically. Obviously, he put resources into it happening, but he did the work over time, and then everything starts slow, and then as it starts to pick up, it'll pick up exponentially.
Yeah,
because it's like, man, nobody shared any of my posts,
and
then all of a sudden somebody shares one, and then the next thing you know, it's like, well, now somebody shared two, and then maybe someone who saw that shared post, and then as you get more people, you'll get more shares, which will reach more people, but it doesn't happen fast. It's like a train. A freight train does not get up to speed for like an hour. It has to, it's carrying so much weight. It just keeps chugging along.
And you ever notice that you have to be okay. Like you just said, like my mom's episodes are the most downloads because she tells the patient like, oh, I did the podcast or whatever. So thank you for that, Mom. But it's like this, it's like she came on, we have a week and it's like, and then it's like, and you have to be willing to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean? Like, okay.
Yeah.
You're still keep
it's like,
fun.
Okay, the bottom of my bottom is higher than my bottom used to be.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me get a little higher.
Yeah.
Get a little higher.
Yep.
Let me get a little higher.
Yep.
And that's the thing that I don't think people think success is just like, it's, you ever see that picture? It's like what people think success is, and it's just a straight arrow. And it's like what success really is, and it's just like it looks like a tumbleweed of just like lines
and bullshit.
Yeah, and that's what it is, man. Success is just seeing something through.
Yeah, and
success is really the only person that can define if you're a successful human being is you.
Yeah,
honestly, like what my version of success is and your version of success are two completely different things. Like, there are going to be things that you're going to fail at. That doesn't mean you're a failure. That's the other thing that drives me crazy. If I fail, I'm a failure. No. You're a person who failed.
You're a person who failed, yes.
AKA everyone.
Every person ever.
Everyone. Like, I tell people that are like, I want to do jujitsu. Like a friend of my wife's really good friend, her husband texted me yesterday or the day before. Oh, dude, I signed up for jiu-jitsu, but I'm really nervous because I'm a wimp and I think I'm going to be really bad. And I'm like, well, that's the wrong way to look at it, dude. Just go in there and you don't know anything. If you're at a gym that's worth anything, they're not going to destroy you. They're going to help you learn.
Yeah.
Just go in there and have fun with the process of learning. And then as you get better, you can start pushing yourself a little harder. I did it the complete opposite of that.
You were like, fight, let's go.
Dude, I had 2 black eyes for like a year straight. I was just getting kicked in the face left and right. It's, but it's gotten me to where I am now. So maybe I didn't take the straight path, but I'm still on the path. I found the path. I didn't get directly I didn't pull up in the parking lot and get on the path, because nobody told me how to get to the spot where you can just take your car to the path. I parked 35 miles down the road, but I found the path eventually. And that's the most important thing. And once you find the path, you got to stay on the path. That's the other thing. Don't turn around a quarter of a mile down so you can get back in your car where it's warm. Got to keep going.
That's one thing I always think about life-wise, if you will. It's like, all right, had my kid, here's my life, literally. All right, so had my first kid when I was 16. my high school education is pretty much non-existent because I was in the bad kids class, and I
Yep.
had some great teachers who got us to the end, and it's like, all right, guys, and fly, and they loved us and they were great and it was amazing. But I didn't fail out of college 3 times. College never worked for me. I tried to go a few more times, it didn't work. In my early 20s, met a young lady, got engaged to her, and was building my career in hospitality. Then I meet my wife, and now I'm like 26. We are 32, 35, 34 now. Sorry if I mess up your age, baby. But the point is, it's like I'm so happy where I am, and that's an accumulation of 32 years of life events. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yep.
it's not like it didn't happen when I was 20, 22. It's like where I am, and it took a while.
I think about that all the time, man. You see all these pictures on Instagram of like these mountains, these beautiful mountains with the sun setting perfectly over them, and it's just this picturesque, beautiful, or from the top of a mountain, and the view is just so beautiful,
Yeah.
right? But when you look at that mountain from so far away, of course it's beautiful. But when you get to that mountain is made up of dirt and rocks and sticks
Yep.
that
Yep.
you're going to trip on and fall and get in your eye and scratch yourself. But if you want to see the view from the top of that mountain, you got to climb all over through all that crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you get to the top of the mountain, that's all that crap that you have surpassed. And you guess what you're going to see? You see another beautiful mountain in the distance. And you're going to be like, that's where I'm going next.
Yep.
Because it's so beautiful. But when you're on the mountain, it doesn't look like the picture. It looks like a hill with mud and sticks and dirt. The process never looks as good as like what the end result looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, I got pictures like, oh yeah, look at Evan getting his hand raised at the trop. Oh, look at this. Oh man, Evan, you're the man. That's not what
That's
that's
not what it
not
was
what
like.
the process looks like,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Crying by yourself in the dark, questioning yourself, being on the verge of being homeless, having your car repoed, your girl left. Like, dude, people don't see the amount of sacrifices, and not just fighters, anyone
Yeah.
that has a prolonged career where they reach a level of success that they want to be in. It's bumpy, man.
Yeah. It's
And the
real
reason
bumpy.
that they got to the beautiful view is because they climbed that sloppy hill. You can't get to the beautiful view without climbing the hill.
100%.
You know,
110%.
It's like maybe you're rich, so you have someone with a helicopter to take you to the top of the hill. But what happens if the helicopter doesn't work? You got to climb back down the hill. It's going to be 10 times worse because you didn't take the time to climb up the hill. I just feel like people think too much about the beautiful view and not enough about the climb. I mean,
Don't you love the climb now, though? No,
it's literally tattooed on my arm.
No, I think about it, and I was talking Monica and I, and
best Miley Cyrus song ever.
Oh yeah. No, but it's so true because Monica and I, we went to our friend's house for dinner and we were talking, and I forget what we were talking about exactly, but we were talking about me not being in a senior management or management position right now, being in loss prevention, and yada yada yada. But at the end, I was just like, at this point in my life, I love the struggle. Like, I have to work to get somewhere else. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the worst corner I've ever been in. My family's healthy. I'm happy. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, people are like, oh, you're doing a great job, man, hanging in there in LP. Like, yeah, and I leave at 3:30. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. When people talk about struggling, oh, he's struggling. He's struggling. All right, if I was in the Delaware River and there was a storm, right? And I fell out of my boat and I stopped struggling, what happens? I'm going to sink to the bottom and die.
That's it, yeah.
There's not enough.
I'm getting so pumped up. Keep going.
There's not enough credit given to people who struggle. Struggling is the struggle is everything, dude. And so many people don't feel happy or fulfilled because they have nothing to struggle against.
Yep.
When you have no resistance, when you have nothing that's testing you and making you question, like, do I want to do this? I don't know. I mean, I was there when I was an amateur fighter and I lost, I think, 3 fights in a row. They were all title fights.
Yeah, he had a rough patch. I remember. Yeah.
Well, because first of all, I was fighting for titles way before I should have been. I
That's
shouldn't
true too.
I shouldn't have even been fighting yet.
There was nobody really in your weight class at the time, was there?
It was
a
three
small
different
weight
weights.
class.
It was 3 different weights I fought.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
The
Yeah,
promoter
yeah.
loved me because I went and slugged it out.
Well, yeah, you did do that too. Yeah.
I was exciting. But promoters always loved me. I fought in 4 different weight classes. Anybody, anytime, whatever. Promoters loved me, but it wasn't the best way to build a career.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But I still remember like looking and I'm going, man, all right. So I got booked with this fight, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and going, I think it was like the night before the fight, and I'm like, this is it, dude. You're gonna give this everything that you have, and you're gonna either win or you're gonna lose, and you're done. And that was a really scary thing for me to say because that would mean that I was quitting. Although it wouldn't be quitting, it would be giving up or saying I'm not following this path anymore.
Or stepping back for a bit.
But what I learned is, I really wanted to be there because I performed really well that night. I knocked that guy out, and then that kind of turned things around. But I also realized that you have to do what you're doing for you. Because first I started doing it to prove to my girlfriend that I could do it. Then my girlfriend left me, and we were talking about getting back together. So I was like, come to my fight against Jared Gordon. So you can see that how much better I've gotten, blah, 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 blah. And I lost, blah, blah. But I realized that my first title fight, when I was 3-1 or whatever it was, there's 100 people there. Then I lose. The next one, there's 60 people there. Then I lose. The third one, there's 40 people there. Then I lose. The night that I fought Steve Sierra at New Breed, when I got that win after I had that conversation with myself,
names, you're taking me back.
There was 6 people there, including my dad. Nobody came to see me. Nobody cared because I wasn't winning. And that is where it's like, at the end of the day, if you only do things because people are going to prop you up about it, then you're not doing something that's going to make you feel really good no matter where you get. Look at Conor McGregor, dude.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor's not a happy person.
No.
He has
I
to
completely
be
think the same way.
In the spotlight. He has to be so relevant and everybody because
do you see him trying hard now?
Yeah.
He's trying real hard now.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, yeah.
Dude, when he was hungry and he was coming up and he was on welfare,
an animal.
Oh my God. He'll never recreate that, in my opinion.
So fluent, so angry.
It reminds me of Eminem too, right?
Yeah.
So like, dude, Eminem, when he was coming up,
Bananas.
Nobody can touch that.
Yeah.
But he's trying to recreate that with $500 million in the bank. You can't recreate the struggle of living in your car when you're living in a mansion that's worth $50 million and everybody's calling you to GOAT. It's like Marvin Hagler said. Rest in peace, by the way, Marvin Hagler.
Oh, yeah. Rest in peace.
But it's like Marvin Hagler said. It's hard to get up at 5 a.m. and do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas.
It is.
And that's what makes guys like Khabib, like John Jones, even though John Jones isn't the greatest person. He's a phenomenal athlete. Demetrius Johnson, these guys that are like super top of the food chain, how do they keep that same hunger as when they had nothing? There's something secret there.
Yeah, no, totally.
The ability to find that motivation that you had when you were dirt poor and had nothing and no one believed in you, and now you're the greatest of all time and you're still able to find that switch. That's what creates the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Well, you remember that happened? I thought that with, I just watched it the other day, Peter Yan and Uriah Faber. Like, Uriah is so successful. I still love him. He's such an entrepreneur, such a great coach. But during quarantine, Peter Yan was like, I'm in my fucking driveway throwing kettlebells. Like, I got bands on. Like, I don't care how much space I have.
Right.
Like, I am ready to go. And he just picks people apart.
It's that hunger, and being able to recreate that hunger again and again and again is something that a lot of people struggle with. And that's why you need struggle, because the struggle will give you the hunger if you let it. You need to, like, I just feel like people need to embrace struggling more.
Yeah.
It's really good. If you're struggling with the purpose and you know why you're struggling, you will get stronger. The first time you bench press your body weight, you're going to struggle to lift it. Eventually, you're not going to struggle anymore. But that goes back to the analogy from before. If all you do is lift the same amount of weight, you'll never get stronger again, and you'll get tired of training.
Yeah.
Increase the weight, keep getting stronger, work on the progress, find new ways to push yourself. That goes for anything.
Yeah, right.
You
You
know?
got to innovate. Yeah, you
But
got to stay in the game.
struggle is good, and it really bothers me when people say like, "Oh, he's struggling," like as it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Struggle is the catalyst for growth. If you don't struggle, everyone struggles.
Yeah,
What are you
everyone's
going to do with
struggling.
it? What are you
Yeah.
going to do with it?
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
I've been dying to ask you this.
I can't wait to hear it.
So I'm going to go backwards, and I think it's going to lead up to here. Maybe. So when you and I were training after the gym, if you will, when we were meeting up at the NAC, I remember there's times where you're like, oh, sorry, dude, I'm a little bit late. You're like 15 minutes late. You're like, I had to stay at the restaurant until 4 a.m. because I forgot that they were cleaning the vents or something. And I was like, dude, we could have rescheduled at 7 a.m. And you're like, no. What would you tell the young fighter who's in that position, who is living that lifestyle? Would you do all of that again? Or would you be like, listen, there's some things I need to map out?
Well, yeah, I mean, mapping some things out better would definitely be a good. I wouldn't do it exactly the same way I did.
Okay, that's what I was thinking you'd say.
I probably would have, stayed in my career instead of leaving to teach classes at a gym with a guy who just stopped paying me. That was a big mistake.
Been there, done that.
But I trusted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I can't
exactly
say it
what
was
you mean.
stupid because
Yeah.
I trusted him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would say to anybody who's starting off, but they're not sure of like where it's going to go, because we all have decisions that we have to make. So like for me, when I went back to working in restaurants was the first time that my dad paid my rent. I'm like, I'm 27 years old and my dad is paying my rent. I'm not doing that. That's the first time and the last time that that's ever going to happen. That's where I draw the line as a man and as a human being. I'm going to be self-sufficient, if anything.
Right.
But, I think the earlier you can come up with what your ultimate goal is, the better. Because I have UFC fighter friends who lived with their parents till they were 28, 29, 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And their parents supported them in that dream so that they didn't have to worry about mortgage, car payment, all these different things.
Right.
I kind of did it backwards, where I had all these bills and lifestyle expenses that I had accumulated, and then all of a sudden now I want to do something and I want to give everything to this, but you can't, because you start letting go of this, everything falls apart. And even if you're not going right back to the job or whatever, everything's still falling apart.
Right.
You're showing up late to training, or you're not sleeping because you don't know where you're going to sleep. And, that's also not conducive.
Of course.
So
you
have to be able to figure out a way to make it work so that you can do it the right way. And so I guess my biggest piece of advice would be to seek advice from someone who has achieved at least a moderate level of success in whatever it is that you're going for, and ask them how they went about it. And at least it gives you a little bit of like a Cliff Note blueprint to like, all right, well, maybe this or that. And to be completely honest, man, a lot of people who have succeeded through nothing other than like hard work, like they don't have rich parents, or like a guy like me, like I'm as blue collar as they come. I will help anyone I can in any way that I can.
Right.
Like I'll be a mentor. Like if some kid was just starting out and wants mentorship, like I could tell you all the things to not do.
Right.
And I will. And a lot of people will help you for nothing. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
So many people are afraid to ask people, oh, that person's successful. They don't want to talk to me. Actually, that person was just like you at one point, who didn't know anything. And a lot of people who came up that way will be more. I mean, that's where the fight for tomorrow came from. I have experienced so much total lack of leadership, lack of accountability from the people that I was working for or whatever, poor leadership, bad bosses. I've experienced toxic environment. I've been through all of that.
Right. Yeah.
And what that's taught me is what good leadership is and what a positive environment is and how to nourish and grow things. But I've learned it all the hard way. I just like figured it out through constant failures over and over and over again. But if I'm now in a position from so many heartaches and mistakes and failures, I'm now in a position to maybe steer some people away from some of the ditches that I got stuck in. I'm all about it.
Well, I actually was just thinking that while you were talking, I was thinking that I think I speak for most people who know you when I say that you're like a rock. You, like you just said, you're the guy that's been there. And maybe in some weird way with the universe, somebody above us, a higher power, said, listen, Evan, you're gonna have to go through some shit, but you're going to inspire a ton of people around you one day. And I think that's where you're at. Because if you had, like you said, if you hadn't struggled, would there be a Fight for Tomorrow podcast? Would
Right.
you have the friends that you have, the circle that you have in mixed martial arts? And
Exactly.
probably not.
You know, it's first of all, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
That
man,
means a lot to me
I
coming
mean
from
it.
you
Yeah,
because you knew me back before this version of me existed.
of course. Yeah.
So you've kind of seen, and like through it sporadically, you've seen like
Yeah.
the beta version, version 1, version 1.1. You know, it's the software is always upgrading.
Of course.
But,
Yeah.
I forget where I was going now. Oh yeah, like people talk about like everything happens for a reason.
Of course. Yeah.
And I agree with that, but I don't agree with the way that they set it up. Like this happened so that this could happen.
Yeah.
I kind of think of it like you have to create the reason.
Right.
You have to create things happen. What's the meaning?
Right.
People look for meaning in things. Create the meaning from the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that things happen for a reason,
Mhm.
but I don't believe that it's like there's a preordained reason why it happens.
Mhm.
I think that you can create a good reason and put meaning behind anything that happened to you if you choose to be open. You have to like it's being able to receive. The universe is going to send you
So much shit.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so much
once
shit.
you start realizing, like, man, I need to be, I got to be ready to absorb this. I
Yeah.
got to be willing to absorb this. And that's when you can create your own meaning because nobody knows, like, what's the meaning? It's all entropy, man. It's chaos.
Yeah.
Everything's spreading out forever, eternally. Stars die, things explode, we all get buried. Nobody knows. But here we are now. So whatever happens later, we'll find out later. But why would we waste the now? Who knows what this is going to add up to ultimately, eventually?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, and
but would you just rather not? You know, it's
or give up. You know what I mean? Like, and the thing happened was, or one thing that happened, a perfect example about what we're talking about is there was a point where I hit rock bottom and I was like, I need to get some help for myself mentally. Well, I was going back and forth to New York. I wasn't seeing my teenager because I was working so many hours. I saw my wife and my youngest daughter 2 days a week, right? My cousin Greg, rest in peace. Everybody that knows him, we all loved him. He was slowly dying of ALS, you know what I mean? And he lost his mobility. He died looking at the same four walls he had looked at for months. But when I spoke at his funeral, and I meant it because I thought about it when I was getting my head right. All right, this happened to Greg, right? So now I'm never gonna take a fucking thing for granted. As long as I can get out of bed in the morning and put my t-shirt on, I have opportunity, right? And I said that, like, don't let his death be in vain. Like, we can do so much just by getting the fuck out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So.
And dude, that's so true. And so many people deal with bad things by allowing it to be the thing that pushes them off the edge instead of pulls them back in. And I don't know what the mental mechanism is that makes certain people frame something in one way or the other way, That's one of the intangibles that it's like, honestly, we can't figure it out. It's just some people react this way, some people react this way. But if you can look at things like that and realize, like, man, what I have is a gift. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the saying, like, um, this kid, this man cried because he had no shoes until he met a man with no legs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like that little dose of perspective. If you can find ways to continually keep giving yourself that perspective, then you're going to be in a healthy place all the time. You know, I go, people say all the time, "Oh, you like getting punched in the face?" Well, no, I don't like getting punched in the face. Clearly, that's not. I don't have this weird thing where, like, I pay people to punch me in the face. It's not. It's not that.
It's not a weird fetish.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, what I like is the challenge of trying to figure these things out, because it makes me better. It makes me tougher mentally. It makes me more intelligent. It makes me better at something that I like to do. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like I said, we all have a certain amount of time. If you have, if I was to say to you, you got $1 million, you can never make another dollar. This is how much money you have from now on. You will never make another dollar. You would be very deliberate with the things that you chose to spend that money on.
Right. Right.
Time is
Yep.
that. You
Yep.
can't get more. But people think, like, I wake up tomorrow, so I have more time. Eventually, you don't. You
Yeah.
know? Back to Stoicism. Seneca said, picture every day as a single life.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
That's a good way to live.
It is a good way to live. Yeah.
And I always relate time to money. I do it a lot, especially recently. But it's like, think about it. If you had a certain amount of money, okay, some things that you would pay, making sure that you had food, making sure that you had a house, but maybe you would downgrade your house to stretch the money out.
I'm about to say, you pay for your house, that could be half of it.
You'd have to start really thinking about, like, all right, am I spending $15 at Wawa on my way to work every morning? Not anymore.
No.
Not if I can't make more money.
Rice and maybe some chicken if I'm lucky.
And so that's why it's like, if you want to learn to be a tattoo artist, I say that because my brother, unfortunately, he was in training to be a tattoo artist and just couldn't get over his own demons. He's in jail again. But, like, if you want to do that, you have to make the time. You have to put the investment out. You have to, like, yeah, you're tired. Okay, but do it when you're tired. Or plan it differently. Man, when I get home from work, I'm so exhausted, I just can't get anything done. Get up and do it before work.
Yeah,
So many people find so many reasons why they can't do things. It's like, no. You just have to look at how you're doing things differently. It's like David Goggins says, like, if you wrote down everything you did all day long, from at this minute I started doing this until this minute, and then you added up the amount of time that you were doing bullshit, you would not be saying, I don't have enough time.
Check your screen time on your phone.
Exactly.
To see where it's at.
I mean, that's a great place to start for everybody.
For everybody.
Right?
Check your me
personally
too.
I don't know what to do. Let me just see.
Let me just scroll a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
But that's one of the things that one of the big things that I've taken away from New York. I remember, I tell everybody this story, when I was leaving for paternity leave in like February, and I remember stopping. It was like 11:30 at night. I had been there all weekend because I gave my team off to the other managers because I was like, I'm going to be out for 10 weeks, so enjoy the weekend. I've got it. And I remember looking around and I was like, I'm never going to work here again. I had no idea that this pandemic was going to happen the way it did. But long story short, my life for 3 years on autopilot was 2 hours there, 10 to 12 hours working there, 2 hours home. And now that I am done at 3, it's like I realize how much time I have in life. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm going to conquer that shit.
And you think about it, like, how much is your time in your life worth? Like, what amount of money are you willing to sell your life for? Like we talked about before, I don't want to get promoted in the restaurant industry again. I'm not. The next thing I'm doing is going to be me working for myself, because COVID taught me that. Because I don't like, today this is the rules, tomorrow this is the rules, the next day now you're doing this, now you're changing this, now you're working these hours. Now And I'm like, how am I supposed to download 70 people a different policy every single day for 3 months? It's insane.
And keep them.
Yeah, I
And
know.
keep them.
I know.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've done good, man. Our turnover is only 58%, which is
good, man.
Restaurant wise, that's a very low turnover. So,
Yeah, of course.
I'm proud of that because obviously it means
be.
I must have did something right. Some people just left because they just were like, I'm not ever doing anything again. we had a few people that were like, I'm not leaving my house.
Oh, okay.
And I understood that. Yeah. I mean, I understood that a lot more in the very beginning when everyone was like, what's happening?
Yeah, it was weird.
You just shut everything down. Like
you can do that? You can shut everything down like that?
It's crazy. I never pictured in my life a time where they would just close everything.
I never did either. And I remember there was one meme I saw that said it perfectly. It was like, wake up at 9 a.m. and it's like cook breakfast, and it was like 10 a.m. watch a TV show, and it was like 1 p.m. work on something I've always wanted to work on, and then it was like 6 p.m. weird vibes. And that was so true. I remember getting to dinner time and being like, what the fuck is going on, and when is this going to end?
Yeah, it was so funny. I remember everybody being like, oh, I have 2 weeks, I can paint the house, I can do this, I can, like, everybody thought they got a free vacation.
Yeah.
And then it kept going, and all of a sudden everybody's like, wait a minute. Well, what's going on here? Like, this is getting weird. It's a weird time. Very weird time, man.
It is a weird time.
Humans just think that they can beat nature. Sorry, humans, you can't beat nature.
Yeah.
You just can't.
No, yeah.
There's nothing you're going to do.
You can't beat nature, can't beat time.
Eventually, the sun is going to explode, and this planet is going to be vaporized. And it doesn't matter what you think.
Don't get scared, but
don't worry. You're either gonna figure out how to get to another solar system by then, or
if you're hanging out with Elon Musk, you might be good.
You might. Dude, that guy's amazing, man. I love
that guy, dude. I fucking love that guy.
He is unapologetically himself.
Yep.
And he spends his money doing cool stuff. I wanted to make a flamethrower, but they wouldn't let me make a flamethrower. So I had to name it Not a Flamethrower. It's called Not a Flamethrower. It's a flamethrower. Dude, they sold out. He made $10 million in 4 hours.
Yeah. But he's like, he is the perfect example of, like, we keep talking about, like that is real passion. I want to go to Mars. Okay. How are you going to get there? I'll fucking figure it out. And I'll find people who want to do it.
How many people are like, look at this dude. He's loony. He's this. He's that. Dude, imagine the amount of ridicule someone as socially awkward as Elon Musk probably got when he was younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Let them do whatever.
You see they try to tear him up in the news? Oh, the car was on autopilot and it crashed. Elon Musk. And he's like, yeah, well, fuck you. I'm still going to keep making Teslas. Right. Like, relax.
How many cars not on autopilot crash every day?
Every day.
What? It's crazy. It's wild, man. But it's just, you have to have that. It's not easy, especially in a world where, this is one other thing. And I don't know how long you normally try to keep this.
No,
I know you're not trying to do a 9-hour podcast, but that's how
we will do a marathon one for like kids.
Yeah. But I learned this about social media through COVID, and depending on what you use it for, social media can be a positive, beautiful, empowering community thing.
It really can be.
Or it can drag you into the mud and make you a miserable, divisive, angry person. It's all about what you filter in or out. It's like a diet, dude. What are you consuming? What are you consuming when you're on social media?
And you learn how disciplined you are, or other people are.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like I had to delete. I had an old Fight for Tomorrow podcast page that had more than twice as many followers as I have now. I haven't been able to re-get them all.
Mm-hmm.
I had a personal Instagram page that had more followers than I have now. I deleted them both permanently because I got to a point where I was just like, what am I doing? okay, I think X, Y, or Z is BS. But guess what? I'm not being very stoic right now because I can't control any of that.
It's
What can I
tough. I know
control?
what you mean. Yeah,
But it
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
hard.
It's tough. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be staring at this all the time. But if I don't delete this, I'm going to be bored and I'm going to just pull it up. And it's like, why am I at 6 a.m. getting ready for work, getting mad about what Tom Wolfe did? Like, whatever, dude.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it's
And
tough.
so
Yeah.
I deleted them for a while, and it was deleted long enough that they permanently just wiped everything. But I don't regret it. I'm cool with it because it taught me it taught me the lesson of like, all right, I'm building fresh now, and I'm not following anything that makes me feel angry or sad, or like I'll feel angry and sad on my own. I'm a human being. I go through emotions it's like it just happens.
I know what
Sometimes
you mean.
I'm in
Yeah.
my car and like a song just hits me a certain way, and I'm just like, man. But like, you got to be able to feel your feelings. People try so hard to not feel feelings. Like,
Yeah, I
just
know exactly what
feeling.
you mean.
Like you want to control. Like, I'm not going to get sad about this. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to feel depressed about this. I'm not going to get angry. It's okay to feel your feelings. Just don't let them control your actions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
But so many people try to, I'm not going to feel like that. What happens? You feel worse about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can't control what you feel. You can only control what you do. And I have found over time that like once I stopped fighting my feelings, like if I feel sad, I just cry.
Oh yeah. 100%.
But I don't like try to hold it back. I don't try to, I just pull over and I just cry. If I feel angry, sometimes I pull over and I just scream. But like, I'm not going to like go to work and take it out on someone. I'm just going to feel it. And sometimes it's like, there have been times I've gotten home from work, especially like during the shutdown when when the company was losing 1.2 million in sales a week and they hacked everybody's pay and, all this crazy stuff. We all thought we were losing our jobs. I mean, there were times I was going home and my wife was happy to see me and I'm like, look, I'm really sorry, but like, I have to go to bed.
Yeah. Okay,
because I am not in a place right now where I am going to be enjoyable to be around.
It's not going to be healthy conversations. Yeah.
Nothing good is going to come out of me staying up because I'm upset about X, Y. But it's like you have to realize, like, I can't just, I'm home now. I'm not going to feel this way. I feel this way. But I know that if I just go lay in my bed and feel it until I fall asleep, it can pass. But it'll never pass if you don't let it go through the process of feeling that. You know what I mean?
No, I just said that last week on this podcast when I was talking with my counselor because I was coming home and I was just thinking about how liberating it is when you either say what's on your mind, get in front of things, or own up. You know what I mean? Because I was talking to somebody about how Howard Stern, right? What is Howard Stern? He's talking about sex. He's talking to strippers. The media can't do shit to him. What are you going to say about him?
Right.
He's like that. He is who he is, unapologetically. Yeah, because he's already there.
He's been doing the blackface thing for 40 years already.
You can't say anything to him.
Exactly.
He's in front of it. You can't say anything. Like he's one of the freest fucking people in the world. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it gets to a point where it's like, me and you were talking about this before we came on it. It's like, I'm not gonna go around and say like, oh, you're doing this, so I'm gonna start an altercation with you. But I'm also, if you ask me my opinion on something, I'm not going to try to tailor it so that it fits what you want me to think. I'm not going to fit in whatever box you want me to.
Yeah.
However, I'm not going to try to fit you into my little box of what I think you should be, because I think you should be whatever makes you feel the most fulfilled and meaning in your life.
Yeah.
Happy's cool, but fulfilled is better. Fulfilled is the goal.
Yeah.
Happy's like I found $5 in my pocket when I was doing the laundry. That's happy. But you can't be happy forever.
Yeah.
And if you only want to do stuff the times that you're happy and you feel like it, you'll never get anything done.
Yeah.
You'll never get anything done. Yeah. Dude, I did not want to train today. I did not want to train. And that's like 1 out of every 3 days. I'm just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But halfway through, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
It like kicks in. You're like, I'm doing it now. And then you get through it and you never regret doing it.
No, never.
Never.
Yeah.
But you would regret it if you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten to the point where like I've driven all the way to the gym and pulled up and then started driving away.
I know.
And I like get to the light and I'm like, dude, just turn around. What are you doing?
You came all the way here.
You drove all the way here. You're going to turn. It's like, whatever. So then you turn around, you go. By the time you're done with warm-ups, it's like, oh, I'm feeling good now. The blood's flowing. Everything's cool, whatever. But it's like that with everything. If you only do stuff when you're feeling it, that's the consistency versus intensity thing, right?
Yeah.
You can never build. You're never going to be. If Joe Rogan only did a podcast the days that he super was into it, he wouldn't be what he is right now.
Yeah, no. And my friend Richard, co-host on the other episode, we were always talking about how Marvel, they're 12 years in now, right? They got TV shows, comic books, tons of movies. Is every single one going to be freaking amazing? No, because you're doing so many of them. But you're consistent enough where you still have people's attention and you're still doing good things and you still hit the ball out of the park sometimes. But if you're just like, oh, well, it was a flop. No, we should just end this all right now.
Yeah. like when John Jones wins a decision. Oh, that's it for him. It's like, dude, you can't.
I'm retired.
You're talking about the most elite athletes in the world. You can't just smoke everyone unless you're Khabib.
Yeah.
Which is what makes him so amazing.
Yeah.
It's like George St. Pierre was like that. This is what he's going to do. No one can stop it.
Yeah.
That's the elite of the elite. But even George St. Pierre had the Johnny Hendricks fight where everybody was like, dude, you did not look good.
Matt Serra.
Exactly.
That Matt Serra fight happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're doing elite level things. The elite of the elite. Like people like talk about like football players, like the third string quarterback. Oh, he sucks. He's the third string quarterback on an NFL team. There's 30 of them. That means there's 90 quarterbacks from the whole world that were good enough to be here.
Yeah.
Out of 8 billion people, he's better than 89 of them.
Well, that blew my
and
mind.
You're like, oh, this guy's a bum. Like, I get it. You're a fan. You're allowed to talk about, but like, let's have a little humility because this guy could school you in ways that you wouldn't even be able like to understand that he could school you.
Yeah.
Just because he's not Tom Brady. You know how many Tom Bradys there have been in the history of the world? One. There's been one out of everyone.
Well, I was thinking that, but to bring up Pat real quick, because we both know Pat, you much better than me, and he's a monster, right? He gives Jeff Cobb problems, and if anybody knows Jeff Cobb, he's elite of the elite in jiu-jitsu, right? And I'm so glad he said it because it just shows how human he is and how much of a gentleman as he is. This is his first fight. He's in the prelims, and people are like, oh, it's the prelims, right? And he beats this guy. He doesn't knock him out. He doesn't submit him. And he says at the end, there's no easy fights here. But it reminded me that, like, if you got to the UFC, don't talk shit about anybody because they're all there for a freaking reason, and they would give you problems like you wouldn't believe.
We had this dishwasher at the restaurant years ago, right?
Yeah.
Real skinny guy. It's like, yeah, man, I'm going to be the best 135er in the area. This was like, I wasn't even fighting anymore. I was just doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you train? He's like, I train a little bit. I'm like, all right, do you have any fights? He's like, no, but I'm going to. All right, well. All right. He's like, no, I'm a problem. I'm telling you, I'm a problem. I'm like, all right, man. Like, I hear you. Like, at the time, I think I was ranked 89th in the Northeast.
Okay.
So, like, from Jersey up.
Right.
I'm like,
that's huge.
All right. Well, you're going to be the number one. Why don't you just come to my gym and go? Let's have some fun with the number 89 guy in the region on the local scene, not the UFC.
Not the
This is like number 89 in regional MMA. Come check it out. So he came in and it was me.
Oh, he showed up though.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say he didn't show up.
It was me, Danny Myra, Jeff Cobb, Pat Sabatini, and this guy Adam, who's a black belt. And his attitude about his skill level was much different following that. And that's why it's like, man, when you see people that are like, oh, well, That's like when Pat got his arm hurt.
I remember,
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was watching fights with some people. I don't want to name anybody's
Yeah,
name
sure,
because
yeah.
that just. I'd rather just talk about the situation.
Yes, of course. Let's go. Yeah.
So he got his arm hurt. He didn't even know that it was his shoulder was being dislocated, but everyone that was watching it was like, "Oh my god!"
It's bad looking. Yeah.
So that happens. That was supposed to be the fight. Like he was going to win that fight. He was going to get signed to the UFC. And the guy already sitting on the couch and he's there. That sucks, man. He's just going to be a gatekeeper forever.
Oh.
And I just looked at him, and I'm friends with this guy.
Yeah,
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
He's a great guy. He
yeah.
was just uneducated on the thing, and he had a few whiskeys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I said, dude, listen, let me just tell you from personal experience that I am the toughest person that you know. And that man is levels above me. Just trust me when I say that you're speaking way out of turn, calling him simply a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
He was a multiple-time CFFC defending champion. He got caught up in a thing that he didn't realize that his shoulder, first of all, he didn't even tap. He didn't even know it was happening. But it's just like for people that are just so unaware of like the levels of things that it takes. Like you watch somebody play golf, it's like stupid sport. You ever try to hit a golf ball in a hole from 300 yards away?
Yeah.
And people just always, it's human nature, right? Like you assume that you're better at everything.
Or you could, yeah, right.
Like,
or you could do better. Right.
You just have this idea in your head of how good you'd be if you did something. And then when you really do it, it's like, oh man, like
everybody
definitely levels to this stuff. And that's the way it is with everything. But I'm so happy for Pat because he is a guy that has been doing this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he's like one of the most humble guys you will ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
Genuine, sincere, cares about everybody, never has changed. Never.
No.
Doesn't change. He will talk to anyone about. He's super friendly to everyone. He's just a super nice guy, and he's been through the ups and downs. He's been through it all, and like watching him, like really, like dude, we were sparring a couple weeks before that UFC fight, and I was just like, yeah, oh yeah, he's definitely ready.
He's ready.
To go,
he's ready to go.
He's the only guy. He whipped my ass for 2 rounds, and it was like, great job, man. I'm like, great job. That didn't feel like a great job to me. I mean, I didn't get finished, so thank you. You know, but I'm like, yeah, dude, he's ready. But I mean, he is just that. He's just been through it, and he's just the nicest, most humble guy. And that's why I say I'm so happy for him, because that's a big pet peeve of mine. Is when people say like, "I'm so proud of you, man." Like, I get it. Like, okay, your coach.
Yeah.
We're so proud of Pat. He represents our team.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sponsors. We're so proud of our guy. Cool. If you went to high school with him 15 years ago, why are you tagging him on Instagram saying you're proud of him? What have you done to contribute to his success? It drives me absolutely crazy. What do you mean you're proud of him? Who are you? Who are these people to be proud of this guy? You know what I mean? It's
I remember you used to say that. You were like,
it drives me crazy. Yeah. Say you're happy for him.
Right.
Like, who am I to be proud of Pat? What am I parading him? Did you know that guy's my friend? Did you know he's my friend? He's my friend. I'm proud that he's my friend.
I wrestled him in high school.
Dude, what? No. If you care about someone, tell them you're happy for them. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean no one should ever be able to say they're proud of someone.
Yeah.
Like, my wife gets promoted, I say I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm proud that I'm married to you because you got promoted. And I feel like there's a lot of it's not genuine when someone who hasn't seen this person for 15 years just wants to tag them on Instagram and be like, yo, that's my boy. He's in the UFC. Yeah. That's my boy. It's like, oh God.
No, it is cringy. But to what you just said, I was very happy for him because I'd met him through you, and we had met at Buffalo Wild Wings. But above all, like you said about him being a gentleman and things of that nature, when I went to NPR, started there a couple months ago, I saw him. I didn't want to be, oh, hey, Pat, remember, like, I'm Evan's friend, because that's weird, whatever. But I remember I saw him and I was wrapping my hands and I was like this. And he came up to me and shook my hand. And I was like, "Oh, you even remember me?" Like, but I was like, oh. But he's a genuine person. He means it when he says it, and he's not just like, "I'm Pat Sabatini on the mats." Like, I'm here.
We were talking today about like my plans to fight again in the upcoming fall, and he's like, "Dude, literally anything you need, I got you." And I know that he means it. But then we started talking about like the previous place and like the mistakes that were made with my career and the lack of coaching and all these different things that I had. He goes, "Dude, that guy, what was he thinking? You fought at 140 and then 3 weeks later he's got you in at 155." And I'm like, "You remembered that?" Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's so
you remember
human,
details about my career that like I don't even think about.
Right.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Like it just shows you that he's a very genuine guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. If anybody who's listening, Patrick Sabatini MMA, give him a follow. He's not only is he a complete absolute savage, but he's as nice of a guy as it comes.
I was thinking that too. What was I thinking? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. When you are in the cage and you just won and you say, "Hey, Joe, nice to meet you," like Joe Rogan's probably like, "Yo, who the fuck was like?" Usually it's like, "I want to thank you about this and that," or yeah, and he's like, "Hey, Joe, nice to meet you." It's like,
and then the first thing he does is say, "Man, that was one tough opponent."
Yeah.
All he's doing is complimenting everyone else. And then you get Conor McGregor. I'd like to thank absolutely nobody. Oh man.
Very happy for him. Yeah.
It's awesome to see him getting the well-earned success that he has put many, many thousands of hours in to get.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that doesn't like Pat.
No. Yeah.
If they don't like Pat, then I don't really care why.
No, I don't care why either.
You're a hater if you don't like Pat. That's a whole new level of hater.
Yeah.
It's like hard to hate a guy like him.
Yeah, it's very hard to hate a guy like that. No, I agree. So very happy to see him there. So at the 1 hour and 56-minute mark,
very nice.
if you're willing to, because I'm curious, and I would think that a lot of people could gain something from it. If you're listening still at 2 hours, which I hope you are. So you've been through all these challenges. You've stepped away from the fight game. You have seen people, Pat, go on to do great things, and you're getting the fire ready again. Like, what does that feel like? Do you feel like you're here emotionally, spiritually? You got the right team around you, and now's the time that you feel like you could really be complete and leave the way you want to leave?
Yeah, it's different. Previously, over the last 7 years or so, there have been times where like Pat would have a fight. I'd go to the fight, or I'd watch the fight, or any guys that I knew that had a fight, and they'd win, and I'd be like, I want to take a fight. But then 2 days would go by, and I'd be like, anyway, I wasn't motivated. I was inspired.
Right. I like
good,
that. I like that.
Oh, the big difference between motivation and inspiration. But those things would always, I want to fight. Do you? And then that's where you have to split it up. It's like, do you want to fight, or do you want to feel how awesome it feels after the fight when you win?
Right. Yeah.
Do you want to do the thing, or do you just want to go in there for the reward?
Right.
Big difference.
Huge, yeah.
So for me, it was just like, I don't know, things just started going a certain way in my life. I was just like, man, I want to start training again. And Pat was like, come down to Daniels. And, it's been hard for me to get to NPR because I live in Roxborough, which is over near Daniels.
Right.
And I've been working a lot of nights since COVID happened because we were down to only 3 managers instead of having 6. So instead of making the managers work all the nights, I was. But they do a lot of their stuff in the morning. So I started going over there. I'm like, man, I'm having so much fun. I'm getting better. And then it just kind of like, I don't know. It just kind of happened. I fell in love with doing it again. I feel myself getting better, but I also have 7 more years of experience
and life experience.
Yeah. Overall.
Yeah.
I have old man strength now, which is cool.
You got a little white in your beard.
Yeah. Got the gray coming in, but no, man, it's different. It's not about like, oh, I have to prove X, Y, or Z. It's about, I want to give myself the the gift of allowing myself to be my best. I've never like we talked about the whole not believing in yourself thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to do this because I believe in myself now.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to show I also want to show myself that like, you know, the past is not completely irrelevant, but it is completely past performances are completely irrelevant to what's going to happen now. And I'm in such a different mental space that it's a very exciting thing for me to go and just let it ride. And it goes back to thinking about time, right?
Yeah.
4 years is 1,500 days. That's about how many more days I have of fighting competitively.
Yeah.
Could go longer if I really wanted to, but
Mhm.
I'm not interested in being 45 and fighting, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I got a good little run in me before those days have passed me by. And I know myself well enough to know that for the rest of my life, I'd be going like, I should have did it.
Yeah,
I should have did it.
Yeah.
And I just know myself well enough to know like how I'm feeling in training and like how the sessions are going. I'm like, dude, I'm so much better than I've ever been before. That it's like, all right, let me see. Let's just do this because I'm having fun with it again. And I'm just feeling great, man. I'm just loving it. And it just kind of started happening on its own. It was completely unforced, which is what makes it beautiful. That's one of my favorite sayings I've ever heard. I don't even know when I heard it. It was a couple weeks ago, but it was nothing forced is ever beautiful. And I
like
think
that.
that's so
I like
cool.
that. Yeah, I think
Like,
that is. I could relate a lot to that. I get you. Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
to force it, there's no beauty in it.
Yeah.
When it happens and you just do it, then there's beauty in all of it. There's beauty in the pain, the struggle, the ups, the downs. There's beauty in all. There's beauty in the whole process because you're allowing it to happen. You're riding that wave.
And you're allowing others in too.
You're going
not
along.
forcing shit. Yeah.
Like when you're trying to force it, like I'm gonna take a fight. Well, dude, you
Don't
just
fucking talk to me. I'm taking a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but dude, you have this coming up and this, and you're going to be out for this, and you got this, and you're going to be working it. I'll figure it out. When it figures itself out, and then you say, now's the time. Like, I didn't even ask for a fight. The coaches came up to me and were like, are you planning on fighting? And I was like,
training like you're fighting.
I mean, I would like to do it again eventually. And they're like, we'll talk. And that gave me everything I needed to know because that's how you don't force it. You just shut up and train. And when the coaches come up to you, because you're going with all their guys, and they say, we want you to fight on our team. It's like, okay, they're seeing something.
Right. Of
you
course.
know, and that gives you a different vote of confidence because previously it was like, if you're not going to fight, I don't want you in here.
And not only that,
Like,
this is where Pat trains too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're in the same stall, you know, to bring Pat up again, and they see you, I'm sure you felt great. Like it's like, okay, like they see something in me. Like they wouldn't put me in there if they didn't.
It's one thing to be feeling good about your training. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I'm
feeling strong, healthy.
I'm having a lot of good success. I'm working through the tough situations in a much more efficient way than I have in the past. Blah blah blah. Like I'm feeling good, but then they come up to you and tell you that, then it's like I'm not inappropriately feeling good about it. Like I actually am. It's like reinforcement. It's like, oh, I actually am getting better because I didn't go to them and say, hey, how am I looking?
Right.
It came to me. You know, I was sparring I guess it was last week. We spar on Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings. And Pat was there just watching because he had just got done with his fight. And I went up to say hello to him. He goes, bro, you look sharp. And I'm like, look behind me.
Is there somebody else the pro
He's
fight?
like, no, dude, you look sharp. I'm like, thank you. But he's like, I don't usually watch, but like, dude, you're looking good, man. And I'm like, okay, well, the guy wouldn't lie. And that was completely unsolicited. So I'm like, yeah, okay, things are going good.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, yeah.
And that's very motivating because it's like, okay, now it's going good. But now that I'm older, I have the opposite idea of that too. Like when I was younger, we'd be like, yeah, I'm doing great. Now I'm going to coast and things are going. Now I'm like, I'm doing good. I can get better.
Right.
Push harder, push faster.
Yeah.
Before it was like I was always super motivated off of a loss.
Yeah, I remember
the
that.
ego.
I remember that.
That's
Yeah.
the ego driving you. Get that back. Don't be a loser. Now the progress is motivating me, which is a way, way healthier place to be making progress.
100%.
When you're motivated by progress, not the result, that's when the progress will actually be made. Because it's like we talked about back at the very beginning. You're not overthinking. You're letting things go. You're letting the process of learning happen to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I'm feeling good, man. We'll see when it happens.
Yeah, no, dude. I
force nothing.
I'm just gonna say this to top things off because I have figured it out over the last couple of years. You know, I think there's this misconception sometimes where people are like, "Oh, you're not good up here. Well, we'll go to the gym." Dude, I can't tell you how many days I've been shit here because everything's wrong up here. But like,
For sure.
like I just said, and I keep saying, like, you're good up here, you're good here, you got the right team around you. Now it's all like coming together.
For sure.
So I wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah,
Man.
and you know, that doesn't mean that there's not the days where I'm like, damn, what the hell happened today?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Progress doesn't mean that you don't go backwards. Sometimes you go backwards too, and you just gotta assess the situation so you can learn the lesson.
100%.
And then you move forward.
That's it. Yeah.
But I just it's the ego, dude.
Gotta let that shit go.
It's so hard. But like I recognize this sneaky ass now. Ego's sneaky, man. It makes you think you're making your own decisions. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
You're not making your own decisions. That's the ego making these decisions. So now I'm just like, hey, get out of here. Go sit in the car. Go sit in the car, ego. I'll deal with you later. So, bro, thanks so much for having me, man. It was great to see you. I didn't know you lived so close to me.
Yeah, no, I know. And listen, it's great seeing you, dude. I appreciate you coming by. I always admire you and watch you from afar. So I'm glad you actually. But I was like, I don't know if he's too popular now or
Never.
But no, I know you're not like that. So I appreciate you coming out here and doing this with me, man. 100%.
Yeah.
And to anybody who's listening, it's teenagers, toddlers, and twins. But I definitely think that we all can learn something from Evan's story and his fight. And
yeah, I have a lot of experience, but none with any of those things. I have experience with teenagers because they work at my restaurant, but no parenting experience. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. But if you listened, I hope that I was able to provide some sort of value to the listeners as well, because they're probably gonna be like, "Who is this guy? What? This is not what I signed up for." Hopefully, they listen long enough to get some value out of it. So thanks for having me on, bro. I really appreciate it.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. And if you're watching still, you're listening at some point later on, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care.